Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Lloyd. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, you kindly do that. Today I'm going to be talking about two-tier cloud architecture. So somebody may ask, what is a two-tier cloud architecture? Now a two-tier architecture basically separates your application into two layers, the web server and then the database server. So the aim of this is to improve scalability, security, and ease of management. So these are two ways of implementing the two-tier architecture. So your web server that consists of the EC2 instances running Apache and PHP or something. It handles user interactions and serve web pages. The other one is the database server. So the database tier uses an Amazon RDS instance with MySQL to store and manage application security. So as you can see in this diagram, this is what we'll be implementing. Now I want to talk about the NAT gateway. Somebody may ask, why do we have a NAT gateway here? Now the meaning of NAT is network address translation. Yes, you can say network address translation service, however you want to mention it. Now you can use NAT gateways so that instances in a private subnet can connect to services outside your VPC, but external services cannot initiate any connection to those instances within your VPC. They are able to connect, but not from outside to inside, but from inside to outside. Now, there are two ways you can implement NAT gateway, which is public and then private. So by default, public subnet instances in the private subnet can connect to the internet through a public NAT gateway, but cannot receive inbound connection from the internet. You can also create a public NAT gateway in a public subnet and associate an elastic IP address with the NAT gateway when you are creating it. The other thing you can do is, once you are done creating it, then you route traffic from the NAT gateway to the internet gateway for the VPC. Now, the private NAT gateway. Instances in the private subnet cannot connect to the VPC or your on-premise network through a private NAT gateway. So what you can do here is that you can route traffic from the NAT gateway through a transit gateway or a virtual private gateway. You cannot associate an elastic IP address with a private NAT gateway, but you can attach an internet gateway to a VPC with a private NAT gateway. But if you route traffic from the private NAT gateway to the internet gateway drops the traffic. So that's basically what NAT gateway is and why we have NAT gateway in public subnet. Great. So as you can see, we have 4 subnets, 2 public subnets and then 2 private subnets. One of the private subnets has an RDS server deployed. We also have route tables, and then we also have a VPC with a CIDR, and as well as the internet gateway. So we have, as you can see, we have instances deployed into the public subnet. So this is what we are going to implement. Now, before we go into the practicals, kindly subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that yet. Whilst you pay attention to the video, just subscribe to the channel, share the channel to your friends, those who are interested in learning AWS and any DevOps tools. So just subscribe to the channel. Is that clear? Okay. All right. So we'll start by logging. So if you haven't logged into your AWS console yet, kindly do that. As you can see, I've logged into my AWS console. Then you can search for VPC in the search bar here, and then when you just select and then click on create VPC. So I want this to be practical. So we are going to use VPC only. If you use VPC and more, this will automatically provision all the resources and all the networking and stuff. This is not why we are here. We are here to learn. So let's take this one step at a time. So first we'll give the VPC a name, which will say demo 2 3 VPC, and then we'll give it a CIDR IPv4 CIDR, which will be 10. Let's do 20. So 10 dots. Yeah, I've changed my mind. 10 dots 0 dots 0 dots 10.0 dots 0/16. So this will give us so as you can see, this is the CIDR range for our VPC. We don't need IPv4 in this instance. We just leave everything as it is and then click on create VPC. So now that our VPC is created, as you can see from the details here, we have the VPC ID. The tenancy is default. Network address usage metric is disabled. We have the state is available. DHCP option is set. IPv4 CIDR, the one we gave, route 53, DNS firewall rule groups. There is nothing currently showing here. We have the main network ACL also set up correctly, and DNS resolution is what? Enabled. Now the next thing after creating our VPC, the next thing is to create the subnet. Remember from the diagram, I said we are going to create how many subnets? That's 4. So 2 public subnets and then 2 private subnets. So let's go to subnet and then click on subnets. So we'll select our VPC that we created earlier, which is demo 2.3, and then give our first public subnet a name. Say 2-tier pop 1, and then copy. Select the availability zone, which is AUS 2A, and then a CIDR for the subnet will be 10 dots. So that will be 10 dots 0 dots 1 dots 0/24. This will give us 256 IP address. Then we click on add new subnet. So that's our public subnet 2. Change this to 2. Also select the availability zone, which is AUS 2B, And then also we have a CIDR range of we have a CIDR range of 10 dots 0. We can just copy this and paste and then edit. So we change the 1 to 2. Okay, so these are the 2 public subnets. Now let's go ahead and add a new subnet for our private subnet. So we can say this. Let me undo. Copy the subnet name for this, and then come to this side and then paste. So we'll change this to PRIV1. We'll also select so that stands for private. We'll select the availability zone in AWS 2A, and then give it a CIDR of copy this CIDR range, and then paste here. So we can change this to 3, which will also give us 256 IP address. So we are done with the first private subnet. Let's add a new one for the public subnet. We can copy the name, paste, and then change this to 2. Also, we'll copy the CIDR, select the AWS 2B, and then paste your CIDR, and then change this to 4. So we are done with our subnets. Now we have the 2 private subnets and then the 2 public subnets. So we can go ahead and then click on create subnets. So as you can see, our subnets are being created now. These are the subnets that has been created. So now that our subnet is created, the next thing we can do is to create our internet gateway and then the route tables. So we are going to create one internet gateway which will associate to the VPC, and then create 2 route tables, a public route table and then a private route table. So click on internet gateway and then create internet gateway. Let's give it a name as demo-igtw IGW, and then yes. So click on create internet gateway. So our internet gateway has been created. So as you can see, the following internet gateway was created. You can now attach it to enable VPC to communicate with the internet. So attach to a VPC, and then we select our VPC. Wait. So here's our VPC that we created. So we select the VPC and then click on attach internet gateway. So now that we attach our internet gateway, the next thing we'll do is to create the route tables. So we click on there is one thing that I missed in the internet gateway when we created it. So we need to enable auto assign public IPv4. Now we can select the internet gateway and then click on okay, we'll do this. We'll come back to this later. Let me first of all create the route tables. So click on create route table, select the name will be demo dash RTB dash pub 1. So that's the public route table. Then we'll select the VPC, which is this, and then click on create route table. So our public route table is being created. Now that is done. So you can see we have our public route table. The next thing is to create the private route table. So click on create route table and give it a name, demo dash priv dash RTB. Then we select our VPC, which is demo 23, and then click on create route table. So our private route table is being created. So now we need to add another private route table. So click on create route table and then give it a name as demo dash priv dash RTB2, and then select the VPC. There's the VPC and then create. So we created two private route tables. Now the next thing we'll do is to associate our public subnet to the private to the public route table, and then the private route table to the private subnet. So let's select the route tables. We have the first one, we have the pub1. Select it and then come to actions and then go to edit subnet association. So as you can see, we have the subnets here. So now let's select our public subnets. So 1, 2. So we selected our two public subnets. Click on save associations. So that has been okay, it's still saving. Yeah, so that is saved successfully. Now we need to attach the private subnet to the private route table. So we select the private route table 2 and then come to edit subnet association and select the private subnet, sorry. So we have so these are our second private subnets, and this is the first one. So we click on Save Association. We just have to wait for the changes to be done as we are saving the route table association. Yeah, sometimes depending on the speed of the internet, it can take a while before this is finally saved. And as you can see, that's where we are right now. We just have to wait. We just have to wait for this to be done, and then we can proceed. So just so you know, these are the two subnets that we've selected. The first and then the second private subnet. So these are what we are associating to the private route table. That's the second private route table. And we also do that for the other route table as well. So that has been saved. Now we'll also select the first private route table and then associate the two subnets, private subnets. So we can come here and also select edit and then select our two private subnets. So this is the first one and this is the second one. Click on save. So we just have to wait for this to save. So this has also been saved successfully. So let's quickly check the resource map and see what we have. So we can select the VPC and this is our resource map. So as you can see, this is the VPC and this is the 4 subnet that we associated to the public and then the private subnet. So these are public and private route tables. So these are our route tables. These are the 3 route tables that we created. So as you can, if I hover on the private route table, we have 2 subnets associated to it, which is the first and second private route table. And that goes also to the second one as well. Now, as you can see, we have the public subnet. So we public route table, which we have 2 public subnets associated to it. And then this is our internet gateway. Great. So now that this is done, the next thing we'll do is to create the NAT gateway and then route table. So create a NAT gateway in the public subnets, and then that will give the RDS in the private subnet internet access. So this setup, the aim of this setup is to protect the RDS instance from inbound internet traffic while allowing you to access, update, and other resources. So when creating the NAT gateway, these are things that we need to consider. So the first one is choose the public subnet in the availability zone A. So in our case, it is the availability zone A. The next thing is to set the connectivity type to public, and then also select allocate elastic IP address. Okay, so let's go to the NAT gateway. As you can see, when you scroll down, we have the NAT gateway here. So we are going to click on create NAT gateway. This will load. Okay, so here we can give the NAT gateway a name as demo dash ntw. So that's the NAT gateway name. Sorry, GTW NAT gateway, and then select the subnet. So remember we said we are deploying this in the public subnet with availability zone A. So this is our public subnet with EU West 2A availability zone. So let's select that. So we are choosing public because we are deploying the NAT gateway on the public subnet. So public, and then select this, allocate elastic IP. So as you can see, that has been done. The next thing is to click on create NAT gateway. So create NAT gateway. And remember from the diagram, we are to create two NAT gateways, one for each public subnet. So the first one has been created. Now we are creating the second NAT gateway, and that will be in public subnet 2 is availability zone 2B. So the same procedure. Select the NAT gateway, click on create a NAT gateway, give it a name, demo dash GTW2, and then select the subnets. Remember we said that will be in public subnets 2. So let's search for public subnet 2. Okay, so that's the public subnet 2. Now we'll select allocate Okay, so that is done. Now we'll click on create. So this has also been created. So now that all our subnets are created, so these are NAT gateways that we created. The next thing we'll do is to associate private route table with the NAT gateway 1 and then the NAT gateway 2. So select the route tables. So let's select the private route tables. So the first one is this, and then go to route table association. Go to routes and then select edit route. So add route and then select the public internet and then select the means by or the target. You can say NAT gateway and then we'll select our NAT gateway. So this will be NAT gateway 1 and then save. And then we'll do that for the other route table, which is also this. So we'll go to routes and then edit routes, add a route, select the public internet and then select the NAT gateway and then the target. And so we choose this and then click on save changes. Oh, let's go back. Why does the NAT gateway not exist? We go back and check the NAT gateway. Why does our NAT? Okay, so this has failed. Okay. Why has our NAT gateway failed? Okay, so let's just delete this. Okay, let me create a new NAT gateway for the second one. Select the subnets. So that will be public 1. Allocate. I click create. I'm not sure why it failed, but let's see. So I guess now this has been created successfully. Okay, it's pending. Let me refresh. Okay, so this is still being created. We can still go ahead and attach. So go to route tables, select routes, edit routes, add routes, select the public internet, and then go to NAT gateway, select the NAT gateway, which would be this, and then save. Okay, so this has been successful. So now that we've attached the route, we've edited the route. Now the next thing we'll do is to set up the web server. So we are going to deploy an EC2 instance into the public subnet. So let's go to the search and then search for EC2. So what we are going to do now is to launch an instance. So select launch an instance. Give the instance name, let's say web server. And then select Ubuntu. Leave the AMI image as default. Also the architecture as default. Also this, because we are working on a demo, we'll leave this as default. Select a key pair, AWS key or demo key. Select the network. Select the VPC demo 2.3. Select the subnet that we want to deploy this, which will be in the public subnet 1. Enable public IP, and then also select security group. You can choose default security group, leave the rest as it is, and then click on launch. So our instance has been launched successfully. We'll go ahead and deploy another instance into the public subnet 2. Click on launch instance, and then let's see web server 2, and then select Ubuntu. everything the same. Key pair, demo key, network settings, select the VPC, which is this, and then this will be in public subnet 2. Okay, so here is it. Enable public IP, security group, select the default one, leave everything as the same, and then click on launch. So as you can see, we have successfully launched our EC2 instances into the various web servers. Various subnets. So we have two from the image here. We have two public subnets. Then we launch the EC2 instance into the two public subnets. The next thing is to launch Amazon RDS into one of the public subnets. So here we are going to have, so technically we are done with the web tier. The next thing is to set up the database tier or the database layer. So before we create the RDS, we will need to set up a subnet group. So set up a subnet group for the private subnet. So let's quickly do that. So let's see, go back to the VPC. So we'll select the VPC. Okay, and then go to subnets. Okay, so now that we are done with everything, the next thing is to launch the MySQL RDS instance. So here we will go to the search bar and select RDS, search for RDS. This should take some time to load. Depending on your internet speed, this should display faster than what is happening here. Today network service has been a bit bad, so yeah, so just click on RDS. Okay, so now that we are on the RDS dashboard, the next thing we'll do is to go to the RDS and select create database. So create database. So once this is displayed, the next thing we'll do is to select the free tier, because we don't want to, this is a demo and we don't want to incur so much cost. So we'll select the free tier. Okay, so select MySQL. Okay, so we are going to use the community version. Leave everything as it is, and then select free tier from here. This is for high availability and fast consistent performance, and this is for development and tests. But we are doing a demo, so we'll just go with the free tier. And what else? Yeah, you can give the database a name or anything. The master username is admin. We'll do a self-manage. You don't want any secrets manager, so auto-generated password. We can leave everything as it is. Allocated size, we can reduce it. This is for a demo, so let's just do 10. Yes, we want to connect to the instance through. So we want to connect to the instance through either the web server 1 or the web server 2. So we'll do web server 1. Automatic setup, yes. No, because the aim here is to deploy the database in the database server in the private subnet. So we are not giving it a public access. So as you can see, this has been selected automatically. VPC security group, choose existing one. Let's do the default security group. Availability zone. Yes. So this will be deployed in the private subnets 1. Yes, private subnet 1. Certificate authority, will leave it as default. What else? Password authentication. Yes. We don't want any monitoring. So this is how much you are going to. So this is the cost that will be applied when we launch the instance. So this billing estimate is based on on-demand usage as described in the Amazon RDS pricing. So, estimated monthly costs. Yeah, so you can be able to see the cost that this database instance will incur once you set it up. So just click on create a minimum of 20 gig. Okay, so let's do 20. Then go down and then select create database. So this will take some time to create. All right, so our database has been created successfully. We don't need all this, so we can just close it. So as you can see, the database is running. Yes, so now that the database is running, this is basically how you set up a two-tier AWS architecture. In the next video, I'm going to talk about the three-tier AWS architecture. You don't want to miss all the practicals. Kindly subscribe to the channel. Let's grow together. And I promise you to give you the best of everything that you need to know. So subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification. Whenever I post a video, you surely get a notification. And keep learning, keep learning, keep learning, keep learning. There are days that you may feel like you don't want to do it, but you just have to keep pushing yourself. The tech space is difficult, and you always need to be on top of your game to be able to thrive in the tech community. So just keep pushing yourself, keep learning, and I'll see you at the top.